Hi guys, Hari here, casting a tournament game in the Dota Replays Brawl Qualifier, round 1 between eSahara and GDT. It took a little while to get this game started, but hopefully it should be working out. Had some problems with people connecting, supposed cries of DDoS, but anyway, we should hopefully see a good game now. Gonna go into the banning and picking phase. Our first ban is going to be Furion, which is a pretty obvious ban. If I had to guess, the bans would probably look like, well, yeah, this is actually before the most recent patch, so this is the tournament mode rather than most recent mode, the most stable version. So there were no nerfs to anti-mage and all the other buffs. So I would expect to see anti-mage probably banned along with Furion, Broodmother, and then maybe Night Stalker or Lich, probably the most common ban. So Furion, certainly nothing unusual in seeing that as a first ban. Usually the first bans you're going to see aren't so much necessarily going to be based around strategy, but just the heroes you really don't want to see in the game, kind of heroes that you fear. And then the second set of bans are certainly more interesting and usually going to more be oriented around strategy. So Broodmother ban there by GDT, and the bans will pass back to the Radiant. Anyway, the players in this game, we have Nexus, Immune, Jerry, M, and F-Star playing for eSahara, and for GDT, Way Too Sexy, Bleak, Sender, Taku, and BDiz. So if any of you are familiar with these players, you will know who they are. That doesn't really make any sense. I'm kind of just talking because I don't have a lot else to say now. If you're watching this VOD, this is just a VOD recorded. It's not, this game wasn't streamed during the tournament. Right now, there are 2 live streams going on in the tournament, so I hope those of you who are watching this VOD now watch the streams during the tournament. If not, make sure to look for information on dota2replays.org and find out about it for the future. Anyway, as predicted, Night Stalker, Anti-Mage bans, and a first pick Lich. So yeah, those were kind of the 5 heroes we expect to see. Yeah, Windrunner coming out now. I guess those are probably the 6 most popular heroes in Dota 2 right now, so makes sense to see those. You saw the Lich and Windrunner picks were pretty much instantaneous. I guess really in the banning phase, it pretty much just comes down to the one of those, well, the 5 heroes including Lich, but I guess you can consider kind of Windrunner in the same tier right now as the rest of those. Which hero you don't want to give the other team if you have second pick. So we'll see what comes up with the Windrunner here. Really not a lot of strategy, I think you would say, based around these picks yet. Kind of just taking the strongest heroes you can get. But then Ancient Apparition comes out. Ancient Apparition, obviously a very strong hero. Great support, can solo mid quite well to get that early level 6 and keep up the global presence. Just a great hero. Coordinates so well with other disabling, snaring, and stunning heroes, like Windrunner. Obviously, if you can set up a shackle into a cold feet, that hero is probably dead. Windrunner also obviously very popular right now because she's so good at the side lane solo, has such a great escape mechanism with Windrun, and then has such a long lockdown time with the shackle shot. Going back to the Radiant, Lich, just a very obvious first pick. Great support hero. His denying really gets good lane control early on, along with plenty of nuking harassment through the denying and extra mana mechanic. Then we've got Slardar and Rasta, or Shadow Shaman. It might be too early to say that they're going necessarily for a push-heavy lineup. Shadow Shaman usually you're seeing in teams that want to push, but I mean he's also just a really strong ganker with his wards as well as a pusher. And Slardar, kind of an interesting pick to see this early. Maybe trying to prevent the other team from going a Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight being really popular right now, and Slardar is a really strong choice against that. Obviously, just a great initiator if you can get a blink on him. An all-around generally tanky guy who can really, well, I guess also picking him up as the Radiant isn't necessarily a terrible decision. Well, I mean, it's certainly not a terrible decision for any reason. But going up against the Dire, you don't want them to have the Roshan advantage, so not allowing them to take Slardar certainly helps a little bit. Anyway, the last pickup for the Dire, Earthshaker. Earthshaker, just another initiator. Generally solid hero early on. His Fissure allows you to block heroes off for so long, setting up early ganks, can roam very well, play support in lane pretty well, usually protecting maybe a ranged carry of some sort by blocking off possible attackers. Anyway, going back into the bans, we see Enigma banned out now. I guess maybe not wanting to see a jungler on the other side. We've got Furion and Enigma banned. I mean, like I said, Furion's kind of normal, but with the Enigma kind of limiting the options of good junglers at this point. Although, interestingly enough, Chen is still in the pool, who is actually a really strong hero right now. But it kind of seems like a hit or miss here. I mean, you really kind of go all in when you do pick Chen, and Chen actually would be a really good pickup for the Radiant right now to go with Shadow Shaman. So we'll see if he does end up getting banned by the Dire before the next set of picks. The Dire instead banning Tidehunter right now. Tide makes sense because they don't necessarily have a melee support yet. I guess they do have Slardar, so generally you would see the support forming up on a lane around the Slardar, so you wouldn't really have a Tide Slardar, but Tide's Gush along with Slardar's Amplify damage could really get some mean negative armor out there, get the damage really high for the Radiant team. So that's never a bad combination, especially if you can really win the armor war with the Lich Frost armor as well. But yeah, just kind of, I guess, not wanting to see the Radiant get a nice... Tide's just such a strong melee support hero with, I mean, one of the best ultimates in the game with Ravage, and really difficult to shut down because of Crack and Shell. Great ability early on with Gush, and he's just so tanky, very, very hard to jump on early in the game and kill effectively. So, very reasonable pick. Again, the Dire doesn't have quite... Well, there's not really an obvious strategy going for them anyway at this point just yet. We've got Ancient Apparition, like I said, who could end up being in a support lane with the Earthshaker, maybe revolving around a ranged hero like Mirana, or maybe the Ancient Apparition could just go mid, and then we'll see some other sort of lane setup. Faceless Void banned out by the Radiant now. Obviously, the Dire has not picked up any sort of a hard carry. Windrunner, decent late game, but certainly not in the carry picture, so not wanting to see Faceless Void on the Dire. Faceless Void pretty strong against Slardar as well. Probably can outcarry him. Well, I mean, a lot of heroes can outcarry Slardar, but Faceless Void with Backtrack doesn't really care a ton about the Amplify damage, especially because he's going to get that ultimate off on the Radiant and probably be able to issue out enough damage. And yeah, the last ban is a Chen for the Dire, so like I was expecting, the Dire did ban out, well, not like I was expecting, but like I thought could happen, the Dire did ban out Chen, not wanting the Radiant to be able to move in too heavily on a very push-heavy strategy. Venomancer still in the pool, so that could very easily be a pickup here. Venomancer is a solid support and going wards for strong pushing, but Enigma is banned out as well as Chen now, so there's not a ton of options. I guess they could also go with an Enchantress if they really wanted to. Enchantress is a great jungling hero and can lead herself well into the pushing strategy. But the Dire is pretty well set up to defend pushes at this point. Windrunner's Power Shot can really do a lot of damage to creeps. That combined with the Earthshaker's Fissure can probably nuke down an entire wave pretty quickly. Not to mention, if Earthshaker can get up to a Blink Dagger, he's obviously a great anti-pushing hero, being able to blink in an ultimate on top of a push. Really discouraging a push-heavy lineup if you can't, capitalize on taking enough towers before the Earthshaker can get up to the Blink Dagger. So we'll have to see how that goes. The next pickup for the Dire or the Radiant here, they probably have their solo mid with the Shadow Shaman, and I would imagine at this point, the Lich is going to be supporting Slardar in a side lane. I don't know if they'll end up sending if they could take the Enchantress to have a jungle and then send a solo top. Although the best solo top for the long lane Windrunner is already gone, but you could easily take an Enchantress here, followed by a Mirana. Mirana's still a decent side lane solo, certainly not as good as Windrunner, but can hold her own. So that's a possibility here, but at the same time, having Lich top is certainly nice. Being able to set up a support lane with him and Slardar, and maybe a tri-lane, because he can deny creeps early on, which really pull the lane back, allow you to fight closer to your tower instead of being pushed past the woods and more easily ganked from the Dire woods. Time running out here, so they're going to have to pick something. Do pick up the Venomancer after all, so it would seem that they are going to be going with the push-heavy lineup between Venomancer and Shadow Shaman. Venomancer will probably take 1 point in his passive, 1 point in his Gale, and max wards by level 5, 3 points in wards, I would imagine. So now that they've really telegraphed that, we're going to have to see how the Dire decides to respond. They still haven't picked up a hard carry, so I guess they could kind of try to sit on the fence and just maybe take a semi-carry type hero, not relying too much on going into the late game, or maybe they think that they have enough to hold off the Radiant at this point and could do well enough on their own. A hero that's really not picked up very often anymore, but would be decent, would be a Shadow Fiend. His ability to nuke down creep waves is greatly effective against push lineups, although without an Enchantress or a Chen or Enigma, they're really not going to be pushing with a ton of extra creeps, so maybe not the most effective abilities. So we'll have to see what they go with here. They still, I mean, it's always tough to say when someone has an Ancient Apparition on their team whether they still need a solo mid or not, because Ancient Apparition can solo mid, although it's probably less common these days than it used to be back when Ancient Apparition was a little bit more popular, or more popular in that role at least. So we'll have to see what sort of hero they could pick up here. And what kind of a strategy they're trying to look into. Again, Slardar is great in a push-heavy lineup because he's not I don't know. I mean, if I call him a hard carry, I'm sure people are going to jump on my ass for it. But if I call him a semi-carry, people are going to jump on my ass for it. I mean, really, I would call him a semi-carry initiator. So he doesn't need a ton of farm. Usually just a Vanguard and a Blink would be ideal on him going into a BKB a little bit later. So he can really set up to be effective. Like he comes online a lot sooner than a lot of carries, and his damage can be really high in the mid-game. So works great in a push lineup as kind of your semi-carry. Anyway, the Dire picking up Razor. Razor is a great hero with an Earthshaker because if you can block off someone with a Fissure, you can set up a static link to really just annihilate them. So there's a decent chance we'll be seeing Razor in some sort of a side lane with the Earthshaker in support. Maybe the Earthshaker Ancient Apparition supporting in a tri-lane, and then still a mid to pick. The Radiant does pick up the Weaver, deciding, I guess, that they would like to have a little bit more late game, just in case the Dire has too much ability to nuke down their pushes. Obviously, Razor's AoE damage spell, which I cannot remember the name of, Corrupted Tide in another game, is able to really help take down creeps along with the Windrunner and the Earthshaker. So maybe the Radiant's a little bit worried that they might not have enough to push and want to go in with a little bit more late game. But not to mention, Weaver is just a great choice when you have a Slardar because the negative armor from the Weaver wave will certainly add up alongside the amplify damage and allow you to do a lot of right-click damage with the Weaver's auto attacks, double hitting with the Germinate. So, I mean, certainly a great pickup. Tons of synergy winning the armor war. I mean, generally, I really like the Radiance picks here. And I'm going to be interested to see what it is the Dire does to respond, whether they are going to be picking up, I'm guessing, a solo mid at this point. Although, I mean, they could take something, well, I don't know, if they really wanted to bank on the late game, they could go with Mirana and, well, as a mid or a side lane solo, but I don't really know. I guess we could see just another strong support hero, maybe like a Crystal Maiden, really to hold off the push. No, and they do go with the Queen of Pain. So it's most likely the Queen of Pain will probably be the mid. I feel that Queen of Pain is a better mid solo, even though Queen of Pain can certainly do a side lane solo. I'd rather see the Queen of Pain in the mid because she's so strong at the rune control and can, it takes more advantage in that than maybe in the side lane solo, which Windrunner is so strong at. So anyway, we're going to have, for eSahara, Jerry on the Venomancer, Immune on the Weaver, Nexus on the Lich, F-Star on the Slardar, and M on the Shadow Shaman. Meanwhile, on the Dire, we've got Way Too Sexy playing the Akasha going middle, Bleak on the Earthshaker, Ancient Apparition played by Sender, Taku playing Razor, and did I say Bleak twice? Beat is, sorry, on the Earthshaker, and Bleak on the Windrunner. So as I expected, we will have a sort of tri-lane with, most likely with the Ancient Apparition, Razor, and Earthshaker in the bottom, while meanwhile Bleak solos top with the Windrunner. We are going to have a 5-man gank here. I'm not sure if there will be a smoke coming out. Yeah, Lich does have smoke, so probably going to look to smoke up and get a 5-man gank here. We'll see if anything can come of it. Meanwhile, the Dire is trying to set up a 4-man gank in the Radiance Woods down bottom, so it's possible that they will just completely miss each other. Most likely Bleak is going to play far enough back, and he has Wind Run, that he's probably not going to get caught here by this. Lich not even bothering to pop the smoke at this point. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. Akasha will certainly head middle while these three stay bottom. Interesting that the tri-lane will be in the hard lane, the long lane here, instead of playing the safe lane, but I guess this gives Bleak a much better chance in his lane, and they have a really strong aggressive tri-lane, I guess, but it does kind of all hinge around the Earthshaker being able to land a successful Fissure, because other than that, they don't have a lot of setup. The Cold Feet really needs that to be able to land. Gonna get an Invis Rune here. Might try to use it to gank middle, although I'm not so sure that, well, it's possible that they could get a kill with it, but I'm not positive on that. Anyway, gonna have Weaver, along with, Lich denying a creep off top so that the wave will pull back. Weaver, I guess, is going to go with a side lane solo. Meanwhile, Shadow Shaman and the Venomancer heading bottom. Slardar probably going to be supported mid, with the Lich. So we're going to have Slardar and Lich up against the Akasha. It's going to be a really nice lane for Slardar to get some early farm. Hopefully you head into that Blink Dagger. Oh, meanwhile, actually, almost missed it. Thankfully, no First Blood. Would be quite embarrassing. I guess the Fisher probably just wasn't quite good enough. But we are going to have the tri-lane of the Dire facing off against 2 ranged of the Radiant here. This won't be actually too bad. Well, the problem with having Shadow Shaman in a side lane like this is every time he uses that Ether Shock to last hit, which is kind of an important thing for Shadow Shaman, he's going to push the lane out. So you can see the lane is kind of already pushed too far with the Earthshaker standing in the trees that they can't even really come up to the creeps and do much with last hitting. So Razor's going to have a really easy time here, actually. Getting a lot of farm, but at the same time, you're going to have Slardar farming well in the middle. So we'll kind of see who that favors better. Both of these are actually strong mid-game heroes. Razor, obviously a very strong mid-game hero. Just barely misses on the Fisher, not going to be enough, even with I guess I should figure out what this is, Plasma Field. Yeah, even with the Plasma Field, not enough to finish off the Shadow Shaman, although they certainly are going for him pretty difficultly. Like I said, it's all going to rely on whether or not this Earthshaker can actually land a successful Fisher. To block one of these Radiant players off and set up a good cold feed, which will lead to a kill. Meanwhile, Akasha really just going to be pushed back here, but with the Creeps by our tower, we'll be able to do a decent job. I'll check the Creep stats in a second. And then at the same time, we've got Weaver against Windrunner top. Windrunner, definitely a better side lane solo, I think, than Weaver. Weaver can harass with the Sakuchi and the Germinate, certainly, but Weaver has such a strong attack damage and attack animation. Windrunner has such strong attack damage and attack animation that it's really going to be quite difficult for the Weaver, but actually might be trying to go on him here. Already got the Weaver wave, only 1 level in Sakuchi. Just going to Windrun away, but actually the Sakuchi might be enough. Yep. Gonna get Shackle Shot lands, but no, still gonna be enough for First Blood. And Weaver does pick up the First Blood top. So kind of contrary to what I was saying, Windrunner was really just overplaying with a little bit too low of health there. I guess didn't expect the Weaver to go aggressive on him that early on, but it certainly worked out, and because of it, the Weaver is now going to win this lane, probably, with a strong early advantage, although he is out of mana, which is a bit of a problem. So let's actually take a look at the creep stats here. Slardar is 10-0, so farming quite well in the mid. Meanwhile, the Akasha, 4-1, not too bad for being up against a dual lane, but obviously not as well as you'd like Akasha to do. Meanwhile, Weaver was 9-3, while Bleak was 9-3. So Bleak certainly was probably doing better with the last hitting before the Weaver died, but Weaver got a chance to catch up while the Windrunner was dead, and the First Blood's certainly not going to hurt. Meanwhile, let's see, Razor is 11-7, so farming quite well in the bottom. Meanwhile, the Shadow Shaman with only 5-1, not quite doing as amazing. Because as this lane gets further pushed, he doesn't really have a ton of a chance here. Not so sure I love this lane setup by the Radiant here. I mean, I guess they're prioritizing their Slardar, but I guess they figure that maybe if the tri-lanes met, well, I mean, I guess you'd have Shadow Shaman and side lane, tri-lane support. No, you'd have Weaver, or Venomancer, Lich, and Slardar in the tri-lane. And I guess they just didn't figure that was a strong enough tri-lane to face off against really the tri-lane defeating power that the Earthshaker brings. Because any Fisher can completely change the dynamics in a lane instantaneously. So I guess the Radiant didn't think they had a good enough chance there and decided they would rather at least win one lane by sending the dual mid to get Slardar farm against the Akasha and kind of shut down the Akasha a bit. And especially the very nice thing about having a dual lane mid against an Akasha is that you can just leave one of the people middle farming while the other person goes and jumps on a rune, like the Lich did here actually, or no. Venomancer actually rotated up for the bottom rune. Lich went to the top. Venomancer actually going ahead middle with his haste. Still only level 1, so he's not going to be able to do a whole lot other than just kind of auto-attack her once. And meanwhile, it looks like the Lich might be heading top to come support the Weaver. Like I said, Windrunner is probably stronger than the Weaver, so maybe they decided he needed the help. I don't really know exactly. But anyway, with the Akasha no, Blink is on cooldown, so Slardar is actually going to get the kill here. Although, well, actually doesn't get the kill gets split from the creeps, but still basically the same thing. Meanwhile, miss a double death top. Sorry about that. It's a little too much action going on all at the same time. Fortunately, not a lot happening bottoms. That saves me one lane to look at. Anyway, as I was saying, with the dual lane mid, you can leave one of the people middle, farming and getting the creeps, while the other one goes and stands on top of a lane, which shuts down one of Akasha's strongest abilities, which is her ability to rune control early on, because Blink makes it so much easier for her to get around to the runes. And if you have, one person going to guard one of the runes, while I guess the other dual lane, like Venomancer in this case, went up to top to guard that lane, or went up top from bottom lane to the bottom rune to guard that one, makes it a bit easier to rune control against an Akasha and really shuts down that element of her early game. Lich still sitting top here. I guess it kind of paid off because they did get a kill, although it involved a death as well, so I'm not so sure that it was completely worth it. Meanwhile, Weaver just doing a little bit of harassment here. Bleak not doing too bad, has gone straight for Blades of Attack. I assume he'll probably turn that into a early phase boots, just one of the extra last hit damage with the Blade Springs rather than going for the boots first. So that's a reasonable choice. Meanwhile, though, Slardar is actually being left middle to contend with the Akasha by himself, which is not so great for the Slardar. He's going to have a little bit of trouble. Actually going to go try to run to the runes. Meanwhile, yeah, Venomancer went to camp the bottom rune again, scared off by the Ancient Apparition. Slardar is going to pick up this rune, throw down an Amplify on the Akasha. Akasha, Blink is actually on cooldown, but Slardar is most likely not going to... no, he's going to catch, but shouldn't be able to kill. Will be able to do a decent amount of damage, though, with that Amplify up and those hits. The Ancient Apparition coming around in support, though, so there's no way the Slardar could dive. Although without another stun, there's no chance he was going to dive anyway. So yeah, now we transitioned into a little dueling top with the Weaver and the Lich. I guess Venomancer might kind of sit middle. This would actually not be a terribly bad setup because then you probably should be winning both the middle and top lanes at that point, although maybe a little bit later, and really just sacrificing the Shadow Shaman, which I guess maybe you just don't care so much. You really just want to get him to level 6 and have him start throwing down his ultimate on towers, and it's not the most important thing to you ever if he does get farm, although I would prefer farm Shadow Shaman, but I guess I could say that about any hero. Looks like Venomancer kind of just roaming around, having a little bit of fun with neutral creeps, actually stacking. I'm not sure what exactly their plan is for killing the stack, but I guess with Slardar eventually just crushing it. Meanwhile, yeah, Shadow Shaman basically forced out of the lane here, which is actually going to lead to a pretty nice farm, or should lead to a pretty nice farm for this Razor. Oh, action top. Both of these going on Bleak. Bleak pops the wind run just at the right time. I'm not so sure that there should be the shackle actually doesn't latch him to the tree there. I felt like it probably should have, but it did not. It was just barely the wrong angle, so the Windrunner is going to go down to the Weaver. Meanwhile, Ancient Apparition coming in to try to kill the Lich. Not going to have a chance at that. Weaver decides not to try to continue after the Ancient Apparition. They're going to be happy just taking the one kill on the Windrunner. So Weaver actually is having, well, a lot of success in this lane. 3-1 with, I guess I should take a look at his farm. 22-5. So pretty nice farm there. Obviously the leader in farm here is going to be, well, actually Slardar is tied with the Razor with a lot more denies, but I guess that's not the most important thing to your carry. So, quite surprising actually that the Razor has only got just as good a farm as the Slardar, who's been in mid, who has actually been alone for quite a while without support this entire time. Meanwhile, Razor has basically just been in a lane that he has completely controlled. Yeah, I said rune there because I just saw that the Queen of Pain did pick up haste rune. Maybe looking to set something up with that once this amplified damage falls off of her. Meanwhile, Venomancer does have 1 point in his ward, so I guess he's going to go into the jungle and try to get a little bit of experience there. With only 1 level in the wards, he should be able to do decently, at least with this weak camp here. Although I'm not so sure, I wouldn't rather have him just still be in the middle. He can get some experience there. Slardar doesn't need the experience too much at this point. Well, I mean, he always needs experience, but it would certainly be nice to let him get a little bit better farm. Decides to go straight to an urn first. I guess it's always good to have 1 urn on your team, and Slardar being a nice strength hero, never a bad choice. Meanwhile, has boots and a ring of health, probably looking to go to the Vanguard next. Weaver actually playing around quite a bit with his Windrunner, really being aggressive, which I guess is the Weaver's strong suit in this lane, rather than trying to sit back and last hit, which is going to be disadvantageous. But nice shackle shot from the Windrunner, doesn't decide to try to hit it with a power shot there, because there were enough creeps in front of the Windrunner that it wasn't really worth it. Meanwhile, some action going down here on the Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman doing a really good job of playing passive. I'd love to see that out of a solo lane against a tri-lane. Although not really a solo lane, but kind of half solo. The most important thing you can do is just not give up kills. I mean, it sucks that they're getting farmed, but he's done basically exactly what he's had to. He's gotten to level 6. He has his ultimate, so they can push towers with it or counter gank with it. And meanwhile, they're, well, kind of winning their other 2 lanes. Gonna try to go on the Queen of Pain here. Lich ultimate bounces and does get the kill. So nice job there. Queen of Pain not quite ready for it. Queen of Pain really having a terrible time, so this dual lane mid has really paid off. I mean, 1 and 2 with 31 creep score, I guess isn't terrible, but I mean, Queen of Pain really is a steamrolling hero. Meanwhile, action bottom, static link on the Venomancer. Shadow Shaman does throw out the wards. Nice ward trap, and that's going to get a kill. Trading the Venomancer for the Ancient Apparition. I'm sure neither team is too terribly unhappy about that, although it did involve having to use the Shadow Shaman ultimate. Meanwhile, though, Slardar coming in, going to try to cut off this Razor here. Not sure the Razor's the best choice. Earthshaker with a really nice Fisher, but actually going to block the Razor off, not being able to run back. Meanwhile, Slardar turning around and going on the Earthshaker. Ancient Apparition teleports back in. Cold Feet up on the Slardar. Queen of Pain scream. Going to take down the Slardar after all, so the Slardar goes down for the Razor and the Shadow Shaman. So certainly a nice trade there, even if it sucks to lose your carry, getting the other team's carry down. Good rotation by the Queen of Pain with a nice haste rune. Although meanwhile, Weaver's still just farming up top here, has the Ring of Health, so most likely I would guess going to go for a Vanguard. Could be that he's going for a Lincoln's, but I would think not. Vanguard always such a strong item on him, and it just gives you that health that you really need to survive. Makes it so hard to kill this hero. Power shot going to hit. Nice power shot there. Meanwhile, Venomancer swinging up top. I guess I should take a look at the items now. Honestly, a little bit inexperienced with this, so... well, at least using all these different neat buttons. We've got boots, oh god, wait, maybe action bottom? I guess I should go watch that. Slardar just going into crush, and yeah, gonna run out in time with his sprint, and by the way, very happy to see that he has 3 points in sprint, none in his passive yet. Especially against an Ancient Apparition on the other team, being able to run out of that cold feet very quickly, just like there, is so helpful. So yeah, maybe I should just go over everything of these heroes. Lich, just maxing his Frost Blast first after getting sacrificed at level 1 and a couple points in that. Probably going to go Armor next before any more points in Frost Blast, just along with Chain Frost. Ooh, Action Top, god, what an action-packed game. Weaver does not actually have his ultimate, so he's going to die here to the Earthshaker ultimate. Meanwhile, Venomancer just trying to kill Windrunner before he dies, but going to pay for it with his life, although he probably had no way of getting out of there with the TP in from Taku. So going to trade 2 for 1 for this Windrunner top. Weaver, like I said, just continuing to be really aggressive, which I guess would be another reason to get Vanguard, because it'd make it protect you a lot more. Speaking of Vanguard, that's probably what we're going to see on this Razor. Anyway, going back bottom, Shadow Shaman throwing down his wards on the tower, just like we would expect, even though this lane's been pushed toward... well, it hasn't really been pushed this lane for a while. Now that the team TP's out, this gives him the perfect opportunity to take down this tower. Doesn't look like there's going to be any support coming in from the Dire, so this tower is certainly going to be going down. Oh, wow, nice deny from the Ancient Apparition. Well played, sir. Let's see, is there finally going to be a lull in the action? I can talk a little bit about items and skill builds. Okay, so Lich, basically just being the ward bitch, has his magic stick, 3 iron branches going towards the magic wand, boots and wards. The Weaver sitting back in base, so, well, going to teleport actually in top here. Might have some action here. Shackle Shot missing. Weaver possibly going to Sakuchi in. Yep, going in there, but certainly can't do enough by himself. Just going to come back to farm. Yeah, Weaver has agility, or, well, treads up. Agility, set on agility for now, and a Ring of Health. Probably looking to turn that into something at some point, but I guess he just wanted the Ring of Health for a little bit of regen. Ancient Apparition, ult, flying in and missing. Venomancer, just boots, really didn't get any farm, has his just TP in the Magic Wand and a few consumables. Let's see. Will the Dire be able to take down this tower? Weaver Wave goes out, latching onto 2 heroes here, and going to Sakuchi through. Kind of a little bit afraid, though, because he's only at half health. Should maybe have these treads on strength at this point. Lich ult bouncing in, going to hit once, twice. Ooh, gets a nice bounce at a long range there. Possibly 2 kills here. There is Shaker going to go down to the Weaver. Meanwhile, Lich picks off the Windrunner. A huge static link going up on the Venomancer, but there's just too many Radiant heroes here, and the Razor going to fall. So a nice 3-for-0 on the TPs here. And the tower is still not quite in deny range. Oh, meanwhile, the Slardar is actually fighting with the Queen of Pain here. The negative urn charge up on the Queen of Pain might... no, it's not going to be enough to finish her. And the Slardar with no sprint left. Maybe an urn charge. Yeah, it gets the urn charge, which is actually going to be enough. The TP goes out, but not in time. Nice play by the Slardar, just chasing long enough, I was going to say, until he was able to get the urn off. Unfortunately, because the Queen of Pain died away from him, the urn doesn't recharge, but I'm sure he's still happy about that. Speaking of the Slardar, just sitting on urn, Boots of Speed, Ring of Health, and Magic Wand. I guess he has something coming out in the Courier. Yeah, going to finish off his treads first before going for anything else. Oh, meanwhile, Shadow Shaman dropping his wards back on top. Just no time to talk about items in this game. And I haven't even mentioned skill builds. I felt like that was something I was good at, but they're going to kill off these wards pretty easily, though, with creep support, so not going to push that tower. Unfortunately, well, it does do a fair amount of damage to the tower, but at the same time, giving the other team a lot of gold, so not something I'm so sure I'm happy to see. Speaking of gold, let's take a look at the gold graph, which is, I guess, this one. Yeah, wow, basically dead even now. The Radiant was kind of slightly ahead, so it shows that their lane certainly did work out after all. And then a huge dip here when the Dire got all those kills down bottom, but then basically swinging back around with all the kills that just happened top. So looking at an essentially even game despite the 13-7 score. So I guess from that you could say maybe that the lanes did favor the Dire because they were farming better, and but I guess, well, lanes have to do with kills too, so, well, overall, pretty even going into the mid-game. I miss a kill in the middle. Slardar, I guess I should pay more attention to this guy. He's quite aggressive, going in on the Ancient Apparition still. Teleport going to come in, but Ancient Apparition is going to pop way in time. Earthshaker's not going to be enough. Windrunner throws the Shackle. It's not going to hit. Earthshaker not in range to hit a Fissure, and they don't know the or didn't pay attention to the Venomancer being there, so he's going to get away. So a nice double kill for the Radiant in the middle. Sorry for missing that. I want to talk about strategy a little bit, but just not getting a chance. What an action-packed game, though. Certainly can't complain. I wish a better caster was casting this, huh? Venomancer actually does have level 3 in the wards, like I expected for the pushing. Shackle Shot not going to latch here, but the Venomancer being really aggressive here, just walks right into the Earthshaker ultimate. Lich going to throw out the ultimate too, but a lot of creeps here, so it shouldn't do a ton of damage. Slarder does throw the negative earn charge on the Earthshaker, but Earthshaker still has enough health to easily get away. Akasha blinking in, not actually able to set up anything. Earthshaker's kind of just hanging around. But yeah, knows he can't do anything. Meanwhile, the Weaver is still doing work on this top lane. Taku not so able to stand up to him. Taku almost having finished his Vanguard. Well, technically has it finished, just has to disassemble his poor man's shield to finish off the Vanguard. Although maybe not wanting to do that, although I assume he will. Meanwhile, Shadow Shaman actually just threw down his ward's bottom and then teleported out, trying to do as much damage as he can to the tower. Again, damage to towers is good, and with their pushing strategy, that's certainly necessary, but giving a lot of gold to the Radiant, or to the Dire here. So let's see if I can get back to talking about, yeah, Lich does have 2 points in the Frost Armor. Weaver maxing Sakuchi, 3 points in Germinate Attack, and 2 in the wave, or in the Swarm, whatever the Weaver Wave is what we call it. Looking like he might want to go hunt after this Razor here. Weaver Wave is going to latch. I think this Razor is probably dead. TP support coming in. Yeah, the Razor's not going to die in time, so fortunately the Earthshaker's TP support is enough to save the Razor, who is sitting over in the, yeah, trying to finish off his Vanguard. I guess, I'm not even sure if you can disassemble the poor man's shield, actually, to be perfectly honest. I'm sure someone will point that out in the comments to this. So actually had to buy another shield to finish off his Vanguard, but does have that finished now. Slarder finally getting some points in his passive, finished off his Vanguard after the Treads, which certainly is pretty good farm at 17 minutes, having earned Treads, Magic Wand, and a Vanguard. Going to be really strong in the mid-game here. Meanwhile, well, the Razor has Phase Boots instead, obviously going for that extra movement speed, because movement speed really is his sort of damage. If he can keep up with heroes, he can debuff their armor and take their damage with Static Link. Maxing his nuke obviously first, 2 points in Unstable Current, just 1 in Static Link. Deciding he would rather have that movement speed and a little bit more defensive ability, especially because it's very annoying as Slardar to have to throw up the amplify damage and get slowed by that. Venomancer throwing up a defense here top, throwing down the wards to try to prevent the push on this relatively low tower, not quite in deny range, just barely out. And looks like the Radiant are actually going to try to turn this one around. Weaver chasing after, launches a Weaver Wave, not going to latch to any heroes, but Slardar coming in with a sprint, Shackle Shot and her Ancient Apparition ult, not going to hit anyone. Weaver still running in a little bit too Rambo at this point, although, yeah, wow, Ancient Apparition just a little bit too close. Shadow Shaman going to pop down his ult, Slardar still charging in, Venomancer coming in from behind, Venomancer ult going to hit a few, Queen of Pain going to die, Lich ult bouncing around, wow, just completely annihilating the team. So, completely able to charge this tower after all, getting a 5-0 Genocide, and the tower is going to fall with it. Gotta love when you see the wards placed down for a team fight that's on top of the tower. That's basically perfect. Exactly what the Radiant want to do here is to place down their wards, or well, is to initiate team fights at towers. Although normally you would think that would be with creep support, but I guess it worked out with no creeps from the Dire, Lich ult being able to do a lot of damage. But yeah, the Radiant being able to start up team fights on top of a tower is just great for them because they can throw down the wards like this, which do damage in the team fight, and then if they win the team fight, which they should if the team fights hit the wards, then it'll destroy the tower afterwards, which is exactly what you want to be doing with a push-heavy lineup like the Radiant has here. Like I said, I'm really liking this Radiant's lineup here. Pretty much good at all points in the game. Mid-game now going to have a strong push. Already 2 towers taken down, while only 1 taken by the Dire, although I believe this tower is quite low, so there's a chance for that to happen. Let's see if I can talk a little bit more about items. Lich has finished up his Phase Boots and going into a Headdress. I guess maybe if I just throw this up, you guys will be happy to see everyone's items. So Lich, Phase Boots, Magic Stick still, Headdress going into a mech. Weaver did pick up the Vitality Booster along with his Ring of Health, so probably going to go into a Vanguard just along with the Basilisk. Too bad he can't turn that into a Ring of Acula. In this patch version, Shadow Shaman went with the Arcane Boots just to be able to spam as much as possible, which is a great thing for him, just like that, spamming nuke down creep waves. And then an Ogre Club could be turning that into a BKB or an Ult Stick. We'll have to see, probably a BKB if I had to guess. Dust sitting on the Venomancer along with Treads and a Magic Wand. Meanwhile, on the Dire, Akasha, like I said, not really having a great start, has Magic Wand, Treads, TP, which you always want to have on Akasha. Well, this team always wants to have. Oh, action going in here. Slardar maybe being a little bit too aggressive. The Ancient Apparition ult is going to miss, but yeah, he's definitely going to die there. Just, I guess, getting to his head, the recent victories that the Radiant had to affect this gold graph. Yeah, climbing way all over 5,000 gold. Meanwhile, Venomancer farming the Ancients with his max level wards, very capable of doing that. The Radiant wants to push down this tower, going to throw down the wards at the tower, which will probably take it, but might lose 2 heroes here. These 2 are kind of pushed up a little bit far, especially with the TP support coming in from Akasha. Akasha's going to be able to blink in and kill one of them. Yeah, decides to go after the Shadow Shaman while the Lich runs in the side and easily dead. The Lich, ooh, does throw off a nice ultimate after baiting both of them in there, but it's just barely not going to be enough. Smart enough to split just in time. But like I said, the tower does go down. I did miss if that was denied or not, but I imagine it wasn't with all the action going on. So Radiant kind of being just a little bit too aggressive here. You'd like to see, well, they're kind of trying to do the dual lane push, although I guess not exactly, because Venomancer is just farming the woods, Weaver farming top, while 1 hero's diving past the tower middle, and 2 are trying to push the tower bottom. So really we'd kind of just like to see them group up a little bit more. I feel like at this point, with 2 levels in the Venomancer ult, 2 levels in the Shadow Shaman ult, probably, yeah, 2 levels in the Slardar ult, really gonna, well, I mean, those 2 are for team fights, but his is just for, you know, insane amount of damage with him and the Weaver. They really should be able to group up and take towers pretty easily. The Dire are gonna have a hard time reacting in team fights, and you really want to try to do that as much as possible before the Earthshaker gets to his Blink Dagger. Still a ways off, just with his Arcane Boots, which is also great for him spamming. Shadow Shaman, back bottom, has a blink now. I guess I missed that maybe earlier. So probably going to go into BKB after the blink. A little bit of action middle. Ancient Apparition ult flying in, not going to hit anyone. Just going to back off. I guess they realized, the Dire realized that the Radiant wanted to push this mid tower, seeing it's the only tier 1 tower left. And not going to allow that to happen. But the good thing about grouping a team up like this is that meanwhile the Weaver can just farm the side lane until he's content and kind of push towards the tower since he has a Bassi. But now that the Windrunner's here, that's sort of going to be stopped. Speaking of Windrunner, it looks like she's going towards first mech after getting those phase boots. Earthshaker I already talked about. The Razor, Ogre Club after the Vanguard, going to be going into a BKB most likely. Ancient Apparition has an Urn as well as basically just being the ward bitch. Akasha, like I said, really not very good items. Point Booster probably going to go into an Alt Staff. Point Booster is just a great item to pick up early on because it provides that health and mana, which you love to see. Grouping up for a push here. Shadow Shaman has his ult. Probably going to blink in, throw down his ult directly on top of someone. Slardar with the stun. Queen of Pain Scream does only hit Slardar. Meanwhile, nice shackle from the Windrunner, going to shackle this Lich to the tree. Lich dies. Meanwhile, the Venomancer down here, a little bit too far, hits his ult on a few people, but it's not going to be enough necessarily to kill them without damage to follow up. Although there's damage from the Shadow Shaman, melting the Ancient Apparition. Nice shackle shot again from the Windrunner. Earthshaker ult going to finish that off. Meanwhile, the Akasha goes down. Weaver going aggressive on this Windrunner. Windrunner's Windrun will be up in 1 second, so probably able to get away here. Meanwhile, the Shadow Shaman actually picks up the Earthshaker too. Windrunner popping the Windrun, yeah, just in time, and there's no way that the Weaver can chase this. Oh, well, maybe he can. I guess he has. Being quite aggressive here. Yeah, it does die to it, but then the Shadow Shaman does follow it up and come in and get the kill. So yeah, Weaver just being a little bit too aggressive there, but worked out, I guess, sort of, since the Shadow Shaman was able to get a kill. And overall, trading a 4 for 4 in that fight. Or was it a 5 for 4? Did all 5 of the Radiant, or the Dire die? Yeah, actually, I think they did. I think Razor just spawning back up now. He died much earlier in that fight. Sorry about that. So 4 for 5, certainly not too bad, along with taking the tower. So Radiant got to be happy with that. Although really, I mean, like I said, this is the point in the game that they really want to be winning. Although the other team doesn't have an amazing late game either. I mean, Akasha's kind of a semi-carry, and Razor, you could say that he's a hard carry, but that would be, I mean, Razor's a mid-game carry is more than anything because that's when he becomes the strongest. So I guess the Radiant kind of just have a better lineup here, in my opinion. With the negative armor going into the late game, they're going to have a strong advantage there, I think. Meanwhile, with all this pushing power, just having a nice way to set up team fights in the mid-game. And, well, yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see what the Dire does to react to this. I'm not so sure. Yeah, Shadow Shaman is going for the BKB as expected. Pretty much whenever you go for the Blink Dagger, you want to have the BKB, so you can just blink in, throw your ult down on top of someone, immediately BKB, and then grab someone with the Shackles, which is just going to basically lock someone down because there's nothing the other team can really do. They have no abilities that can interrupt. Well, this goes through BKB. I think the damage maybe. Honestly, I should know this. Well, speaking of, smoke gank actually from the Dire here. Yep, no, wow. You would think that the Akasha should have blinked in first and done damage to disable the blink from the Shadow Shaman, but the Ancient Apparition actually the first one to go with his ult first, and the Shadow Shaman intelligently enough just going to blink away. So that 5-man smoke gank not going to turn into anything. Meanwhile, Weaver is still just farming top. Actually, yeah, 3,800 gold, already going to get his relic. Decides to skip actually making the Vanguard and going to go for his Radiance. You know, only 1,300 gold basically away from his Radiance now. I really kind of wonder about this a little bit. No, well, meanwhile, action bottom. Venomancer caught out with a great shackle shot, going to go down. Not going to get support from his team because, yeah, you know what, he was just a little bit too far up and he deserved to die or something like that. But as I was saying with the Weaver, I guess I can just click on him from here. I really wonder. I mean, I feel like 2,000 or 250 gold is worth it just to have the Vanguard, especially because the Vanguard hasn't been nerfed yet in this patch, although it's only a small nerf anyway. But whatever. Pretty close to his Radiance. And I kind of love what the Radiant's doing here. They're kind of focusing the action always away from where the Weaver is. The Weaver's just farming away top, which is what he's been doing for quite some time now, getting up a good farm, and is going to have his Radiance, which is going to be, well, not incredibly early. Anyway, Slardar charging in here, going to sprint, crush, Shadow Shaman blinking in. Maybe a little bit overkill with the Lich ult, but actually turns out working perfectly because it hits the Akasha and the Ancient Apparition in the back. Ancient Apparition definitely going to go down here to the Slardar. Meanwhile, Windrunner throwing out a power shot, but that kind of just gives away that he's still here, yeah, so he's going to die as well. Shadow Shaman blinking after the Akasha, trying to follow up, but yeah, there's not going to be anything coming out of that. Weaver's going to keep chasing, but no chance. Still, though, the Shadow Shaman has his wards, so they're probably going to go try to take a tower, or maybe, yeah, with Slardar, they're definitely going to go take Roche here, I would assume, yeah. I'm not sure if they'll even need the wards, but I guess they can just to be safe. I mean, you never want the Dire coming around and jumping on you, yeah. So as soon as they can disable his Nullstone, yep, then Slardar is going to throw up his Amplify damage, and this guy is just going to melt. I guess the Nullstone was probably disabled, yeah, by Hex. Meanwhile, Venomancer is going to push the middle. So the Radiant going to get the Aegis here, and going to go, well, have a very strong lead in the mid game going into the end here. Shadow Shaman actually seeing from their wards this Queen of Pain over here, going to try to catch him. Doesn't have enough mana for Shackle though, so there's no way they're going to be able to hold onto the Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain probably going to run away. Still has a TP. Actually having a pause here. Because, yeah, we had a disconnect from the Earthshaker. So maybe, does that give me time? Yeah. Oh, but already resume? Is the Earthshaker back, maybe? Or Queen of Pain just not very happy about the situation? Yeah, Earthshaker's already back. Queen of Pain had the TP, so she was able to blink and just TP away. Gonna get away there. Too bad that well, actually not too bad, because I kind of like to see the Dire make a little bit of a comeback here. But too bad that, well, for them, for the Radiant at least, that he didn't have enough mana to follow up with the Shackles. Does have his BKB finished now, though. Venomancer actually has picked up a Vanguard as well as, or a Vanguard as well as a cloak. Probably not the best way to phrase that. English language fail. Slardar also has his BKB now. Decided not to go with the blink. I guess with the Shadow Shaman blink, they decided they didn't really need to, and he's happy just to run in with the sprint. The problem with running in with sprint is that you're going to take all the extra damage in the team fight, which is really what you don't want happening. But I guess when the other team's always on the back foot because of your Shadow Shaman ult, maybe that's good enough. And you don't need the blink, which lets you get to a faster BKB. And, yeah, well, avoid the magic damage coming out of the other team. And the other team's damage pretty much is all magic. I mean, your primary damage dealers at this point are Queen of Pain or a Shaker. Razor can get to physical damage, but is going to have a hard time with that without being able to static link you, which BKB is going to prevent. Smoke Gank coming here. Going to see, yeah, the two Venomancer and Slardar coming through here. We'll see if they have a chance to jump on him. Earthshaker probably going to try to start with a Fisher. Good Fisher there, blocking the Queen or the Venomancer. Venomancer is certainly going to go down here, but that's going to be the only kill they get. I mean, one kill is certainly worth it. Worth probably a Smoke Gank, but spending a lot of time grouped up here. Meanwhile, Radiance is done on the Weaver, and he's going to start to become quite a problem. Level 17, 3 points in time, so 3 levels in time lapse now, making him quite difficult to kill with his Vitality Booster and Strength Treads. The Dire grouping up here, but not actually going to be able to do anything. I wonder what exactly their plan is here. I guess they maybe want to push, but I'm not so sure they can push into this team. Maybe just a little bit confused as to what exactly they can do to try to turn around this game. I mean, it's not that they're that far out of it, but, well, yeah, over 10,000 gold is a bit far out of it. Ooh, great Shackle shot from the Windrunner. Queen of Pain Scream takes down the Aegis on the Weaver. Shadow Shaman going to blink in, though, and throw down his ult with a BKB. BKB on Slardar, too, so he's just going to run through here, and Weaver's going to be back up. So, yeah, this is really not going to turn around very well for the Dire. Dire had a great Shackle shot there from the Windrunner, leading to a kill, but unfortunately the Aegis and just the counter-initiation power, yeah, Shackle shot missing there. Power shot hitting, too. The Radiant really not wanting to run up this hill here. Yeah, but Ancient Apparition going to die. The Earn charge enough to kill the Shadow Shaman first before he dies. Meanwhile, Razor trying to get out. But, yeah, not going to be able to get away from this Weaver. Weaver has plenty of mana for Shikuki. Whatever it's called. Scoochie. Oh, nice deny from the neutrals, though. And, yeah, the Windrunner was able to TP out back to base. Going to go push out this bottom lane a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of going to become really difficult at this point, like I said, for the Dire. The Dire, I guess we're hoping to basically win in the lanes. That's kind of what a lineup like this does. I mean, they have all their heroes basically are really strong in lanes, and they kind of just hope to win the lanes and snowball from there. They certainly didn't lose the lanes, but they didn't win maybe as strongly as they would like, and now just the mid-game power of this Radiant lineup pushing down the towers is going to make it really difficult for the Dire to get a couple successful team fights to turn this back around. Although the Aegis is down, so I guess there's an opening. Venomancer playing a little bit far forward. Shackle Shot not going to latch to anything. Fisher going to hit. Yeah, Earthshaker has the ult. Ult going to pop. Doing a lot of damage to these two here. And then the blink in from Akasha is going to be enough to kill him. Not before the Venomancer does land an ult, so they're not going to be able to really continue this into anything, but are able to push off enough to deny the tower. So nice little 2 for 0. I mean, it's a good way to start turning the game around, but the problem is, meanwhile, the Weaver is just pushing down this top tower, throwing out a wave to check if anyone's there. TP's going to come in, but he's not really too afraid of it. Did enough damage to this tower that he can just back off without having to worry about it being denied. Meanwhile, the Shadow Shaman's back bottom farming. Has a Void Stone now, as well as a Staff of Wizardry, so I guess he's going to go into the Yules. Yules always just a great CC item, and with really no BKBs on the other team, it's going to be able to stop basically anyone. Yeah, I guess Faint's still working towards that ult stick, although the effectiveness, well, I mean, it's still a really good item, but the effectiveness is dwindling as the game progresses, because, you know, anything that just increases straight damage is only so effective later on, which is the problem with Queen of Pain going into this point of the game. Like I said, it's kind of a snowball hero, and when you're sitting at 2 and 7, you really didn't snowball very well. Meanwhile, Weaver actually going on the Razor top. Sorry, I just had to get rid of that. Razor probably going to go down, except no, there's going to be TP support coming in. Weaver's not going to be able to follow. So, fortunately, this Earthshaker's done a great job TP supporting to help this Razor save his life a couple times so far this game. Ooh, nice Shackle Shot, but I don't think there's really any way they're going to be able to kill this Weaver. He does have his ultimate. Oh, no. Wow, enough CC from the Earthshaker, I guess. I shouldn't make comments like that. I mean, I guess that just really shows how long Shackle Shot lasts, and that they were able to set up the Earthshaker stuns to finish off the Weaver there. I guess maybe just the Weaver just doesn't have as much health as I would think, since he did go for Radiance basically, well, I mean, basically off of Vanguard, although not really Vanguard. Maybe he has finished it. I should take a look at that, actually. Weaver does not finish his Vanguard, so I guess he's just going to go into Heart next with that point booster, or a health, life booster. Vitality booster. God, there we go. Sorry about this, guys. Yeah, meanwhile, basically just the items you would expect. No real big changes. I guess I should take another look at that. Mech is up on the Lich. Venomancer, still basically the same items he had the last time we checked. Yule's almost completed on the Shadow Shaman. Actually, probably completed just now since I just saw those items disappear. Same item still up on the Slardar. Queen of Pain does pick up a gem now. I guess maybe try to counter ward to take control of this game. I haven't really talked about the wards at all. But unfortunately, or fortunately, there's just been so much action in this game that I haven't really had an opportunity to. Windrunner has finished off Mech and Force Staff, basically the two most core Windrunner items before going up for a Sheep Stick. Yeah, still basically just ward bitching. Sender, great support player. Just with his Urn, Magic Wand, Boots, and buying lots of wards. Taku has finished up his BKB, so that could be pretty strong going into this next fight. And Earthshaker, I don't know how much gold he has, but I should take a look at that. 1350, so still a little ways off from his blink. I mean, if there was anything to turn it around, it would be the Earthshaker getting his blink, and then the Razor having the BKB. BKB on Razor is just so strong because he can really sit in the middle of a fight with Static Link on someone, hopefully. Although the problem is you've got two BKBs on the Radiant at this point, and Weaver, who is, well, quite difficult to Static Link, because honestly, if you're able to hold the Weaver still long enough to Static Link him, you're probably able to hold him still long enough to kill him. So not a ton of good candidates. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Dire noticing, hey, there's still a tier 1 tower at the bottom for the Radiant, so maybe we should go kill that. Gonna have a TP in from Slardar, who's going to try to push this back a little bit. But this might actually be very convenient timing for the Dire, as they're coming down as 5. Might be able to set up a gank on the Slardar. Slardar probably knows something's happening. Yeah. Oh, could have Shackle shotted that creep there maybe to the Slardar? Don't really know. But Windrunner's had some really good Shackle shots this game, so I'm certainly not going to doubt his judgment. But yeah, so going to probably take this tower. Doesn't look like any more supports coming from the Radiant here. They know that the Slardar's in here. Ancient Apparition ult going to go in and scout him out. He pops the BKB to try to turn this around. Maybe some teleports going to come in. Yeah, teleports coming in now. Razor's already a bit low. Probably going to have to pop his BKB. Yeah, pops it just in time. Meanwhile, the Hex on the Windrunner. Windrunner taking some damage from the Slardar. Shadow Shaman pops his ult. Lich ult bouncing just a little bit. Ancient Apparition going to go down to the Shadow Shaman wards. Meanwhile, Weaver gets a double kill. Almost a triple kill. Razor going down as well. Windrunner does manage to teleport, or no, Earthshaker does manage to teleport out, and Akasha was able to blink away. But yeah, I mean, just too much team fight from the Radiant at this point. And with the BKBs, it's really hard for the Dire to win a team fight. Basically, their only hope is, well, like I said, either to get, well, the ult staff, I don't know, not really finished here. Well, maybe, yeah, coming on the courier. Okay, well, that's good. Ult staff finished. If we could just get a blink on the Earthshaker, 500 more gold, then maybe there'd be a small chance of turning this around. And that's really the most they can hope for at this point. Invis on the Shadow Shaman here are going to probably go try to, yeah, they have this ward here, so they're going to see the Queen of Pain. Maybe thinking about going on the Queen of Pain, but no, not going to. Just going to push this middle out. His ward's still down, but Venomancer certainly can throw down his wards, try to push tower. Windrunner running in, not sure exactly what for, just I guess to scout out. Queen of Pain throwing out her ult just on the creeps, basically. I guess it's a relatively short cooldown now with the ult staff, but, well, I guess you got to do what you got to do. By killing the creeps, though, she has made it, no, with this Ballista here. Oh, actually, Venomancer gets caught. Slardar blinking in. Slardar did get a blink eventually, along with the Shadow Shaman blinking in. Both of them with BKBs on. Razor with the BKB, probably not going to go down, even with the Weaver Wave on him. Windrunner running around up here, trying to set up a Shackle Shot. Not a lot he can do. The Earthshaker does come in and gets a great ultimate, and another great Shackle Shot. So going to be able to kill off 2 heroes here. Maybe a third with this. Yeah, this Fisher is going to take down the Lich. And then it's just the Slardar left running away. Blink is going to be up in 1 second on him, so he's certainly going to get away. Really nice turnaround there by the Dire. Just a great ultimate from... Oh, no, he's not going to blink away. I don't know exactly what he's doing. I assumed he would just blink down between sprint. He'd be able to run away, but I guess he's doing a little ring around the Rosie. Maybe just for an unconventional path, and yeah, he's going to go away. The wards are going to spot him, but he's too far away for anyone really to do anything about it. So a great ult from the Earthshaker there, and really, I mean, honestly, the Radiant were just farting. Hopefully they weren't farting. Fighting at this point in the base is just a little bit too far in when the tower is even still up. I mean, look at this tower, too. It's within deny range. They probably should have just been patient, tried to take down the tower, and then worried about going in after him. But they didn't. We're a little impatient. The Dire was able to capitalize on it. But, yeah, Gold Graph's still going to be just over, well, 13,000 mark. So, still a strong advantage for the Dire, or the Radiant. But as I was going to say, the Dire do still have a chance here, maybe with the kind of slight Dire advantage to maybe take Roche real quick. Although they don't really have any abilities that make taking it very easy. But who knows? Might be able to take that real quick, and that could lead to a comeback. I don't really know. I guess we'll see. Venomancer still level 14, so not quite level 3 in that ult yet. Actually, we never did see a pipe on the Dire. I guess no one they've kind of been on the back foot most of the game, haven't really had the opportunity to get up a pipe. Pipe is so great against Venomancer, but I guess they do have a BKB on Razor, which kind of helps, but no. Yeah, actually letting this Earthshaker take these Ancient Creeps, I assume, yeah, they're going to let the Earthshaker take him because they realize how close he is to the Blink and realize that his Blink could really turn around this game. So, yeah, 150 gold away from it. Really want Beatus to get that Blink. Blink on Earthshaker, such a crucial item that can really be game-changing, and they understand that really this is their best chance to turn the game around. So they're just going to try to keep the waves pushed out. Let Earthshaker just take, yeah, this last farm here. Gonna have enough for it. Oh, but just as he has enough for it, Slardar gonna blink in and kill him. Oh, that's so frustrating. Good play capitalizing by the Slardar. Unfortunate for the Earthshaker, and they had the ward here, but I guess they just didn't realize. Yeah, Power Shot gonna try to spy Roche, thinking the other team thinking the Radiant might be going for it, but not really gonna care too much. Slardar with the double damage, actually just gonna go probably try to Rax it mid. Earthshaker down for 40 seconds. I mean, he can buy back, but then they're really just screwed. So we'll see what happens. Power Shot's trying to push back the creeps here. Yeah, decide to deny the tower at the last second. Shadow Shaman going to throw up his ult on the Rax, though. The Rax is probably going to die. Windrunner, great Shackle Shot, going to try to kill off these wards. Pretty good ult from the Queen of Pain, able to do a little bit of damage here. Razor pops his BKB pretty early. Venomancer ult hitting 3, not too bad. Meanwhile, basically the Dire's just going to kind of back off, do as much damage as they can while trying to slow them down, but yeah, the Rax falling to the Shadow Shaman ultimate anyway. I mean, pretty good job by the Dire there, trying to stop them as much as possible. Oh, good blinking. Yeah, gonna kill the Windrunner. Nice blinking by the Slardar and the Shadow Shaman. Meanwhile, Lich ult just hitting one person, but yeah, Taku's still gonna go down. Windrunner does instantly buy back and is going to teleport in, I'm assuming. Shackle Shot, gonna latch the Venomancer. Venomancer might die here. Yule's actually missing and hitting a creep. Earthshaker gonna throw in the stun. Yeah, this should be enough to kill off the Venomancer, I assume. Windrun. Oh, no, nice blinking by the Slardar with BKB back up. Gonna throw out the Crush, killing the Earthshaker. Earthshaker does throw off his ult in time, but doesn't really do anything other than kill creeps. Slardar gets the stun on the Queen of Pain. Might be enough damage. Oh, gets a lucky bash at the last second to kill the Queen of Pain. And then the Windrunner, turning it all around. Now we have a genocide against the Dire. All of them dead. Mid-racks are down. And it looks like this game is all but over. Great blink in from the Slardar there to really turn that one around. I thought the Venomancer was going to go down. Meanwhile, this entire time, Weaver just doing basically what he's done this entire game, which is pushing top. And the top racks are going to go down now. Ancient Apparition going to hit 3, but it's not going to be enough to kill anyone. They don't really care. With only Ancient Apparition up, Razor up in 8 seconds, but it's just not going to be enough. Venomancer deciding to TP out. Yeah, they're going to back up at this point. I guess they don't want to overcommit any. Well, maybe going to back up. Got Urn Charges, so they can kind of heal each other up. And yeah, Weaver, I guess, getting his heart. Maybe has the. I assume he's gotten some more farm here, so he probably has the. Yeah, Reaver on the Courier. So he actually does have his heart finished now, just has to send it to himself. But not super concerned with that. With 2 racks down, the Dire is really in a bad spot, and they don't have the. I mean, they don't really have any heroes who can kill off creeps. I mean, well, I was saying earlier on that they would be able to stop the push potentially, with Razor, Earthshaker, Queen of Pain, and Windrunner nuking creeps. But with 2 racks down, I'm not so sure they're going to be that effective at killing creeps. They don't have anyone with a cleave or anything like that that's really going to take it down. Meanwhile, the Radiant going to take Roche. It's just like in StarCraft, when you're ahead, just get more ahead, expand. Take as much advantage as you can before trying to finish the game. So going to take Roshan here. Roshan. I said Roshan. It sounds so Texan. I swear to God, I'm not from Texas. Not to offend any Texas viewers we might or I might have. Not with anyone else. And by the way, please forgive me, guys. This is the first time I've ever had to do the camera while commentating a game, so not very familiar with that. And I'm sure the camera work is just horrid, but hopefully my being able to talk really, really fast, or at least somewhat fast, half makes up for it. Slardar popping his BKB over here. I guess he might have wanted to go in on someone, but then realized, yeah, he didn't have the team support there or something. Anyway, just going to push down this tower. Who has the Aegis? Yeah, Aegis on Slardar. Venomancer, Shackle Shot hitting, but not really doing anything. Nice ult from the Earthshaker on the Blinkins, but it's not going to be enough. Earthshaker just going to go down. Queen of Pain ult does hit 2, but mech up. Queen of Pain going to get chased after as well. Taku doing a little bit with Static Link in his ult, but not enough. Yeah, and they're all just going to go down. Shadow Shaman ult a little bit off there, but doesn't really matter. At this point, the Radiant had such a strong advantage. They're able to take this down just with the negative armor. And yeah, the GG's coming out. Well, not just with the negative armor. Great play from the Shadow Shaman, actually. Really was able to turn it around from being in the bottom, not getting very good farm, to having a really, really strong presence in the mid-game here. So it just shows how strong of a hero Shadow Shaman is. And I guess I should have given more respect to that pick as maybe a top-tier pick at this point. Well, I mean, it certainly is a top-tier pick, but I mean like a real top-tier pick, like Furion or something, Night Stalker. Anyway, just going to go camp the well here. I don't... maybe there have been disconnects from the Dire at this point. I'm not so sure. No, looks like they might. No, looks like they are gone. So yeah, this game is basically over, and so that's about it. I guess I can end this VOD now. So sorry, I feel like I'm pretty good at talking about strategy, but I didn't have a lot of opportunity to talk about strategy since it was such an action-packed game. So I'm kind of sorry for that, for those of you who would have liked to hear a little bit more about that. But I hope you enjoyed this enough anyway. Well, it was a game you wouldn't have got if I hadn't done it, so at least there's that. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the DRBrawl.org, or Dota2replays.org Brawl Qualifier, and the rest of the tournament. So thanks for watching, guys.